Hi everyone, today I'll be taking you guys with me on my first ever visit to a California card room to count cards at blackjack and hopefully win some money. I visited Stone's Gambling Hall in the greater Sacramento, California area. I gambled on a weekday evening and it was moderately crowded in the casino. There were four beatable blackjack tables open, and I could always get a spot at a table, but there were usually about three other players at the table as well, which slows the game down a lot, especially when they're playing the dreaded side bets. The rules of the game were pretty decent, especially given the fact that it was a $10 minimum table. There were six decks. Blackjack, of course, pays 3 to 2. Dealer hits soft 17. You can double down after splitting. Split any pair, including aces, to up to 4 hands, and late surrender. The deck penetration was dealer dependent, and on average about 1.25 decks, but it could be as good as 1.1 decks or as bad as 1.5 decks. However, this casino had a very unusual burn card procedure that I'll explain later. The max bet per hand was $500, which is a concern for some players, but not for me since I'm a newer card counter on a smaller bankroll. This casino was interesting for a number of reasons. Classic blackjack is actually illegal in California, so the only blackjack I have ever played here was at Indian casinos on Native American reservations. Stone's Gambling Hall technically offered no bust 21st century Buster Blackjack 4.0, as they called it, but I found it to be completely indistinguishable from classic blackjack that I've played in Las Vegas. I almost didn't come to Stone's because I wasn't sure if it would be normal blackjack, but it was. The other odd quirk is that one of the players acts as a player dealer, so the players at the table are actually playing against the player dealer, not the casino. When the regular players win, the winnings are paid out of the player dealer's bankroll. When the regular players lose, the player dealer gets their money. The casino collects an ante from the player dealer that's proportional to the total amount bet by the rest of the players. So the regular players basically get to play for free. Technically, the player dealer spot is up for grabs every 2 hands, but in practice, there's usually just one very rich player sitting at the end of the table, essentially bankrolling the casino. I hope that made sense. It was very odd. I just wanted you to know this in advance because in the entire video you'll see the dealer pay myself and other regular players at the table out of the player dealer's bankroll and collect an ante from the player dealer before every hand. Like I said, I'm a relatively new card counter on a smaller bankroll. By far the most important stat to me is minimizing risk of ruin, or ROR. Simply put, risk of ruin is the percent chance that a card counter will lose their entire bankroll if they continuously bet a given bet spread until they run out of money. Most professional card counters keep their risk of ruin to 2% or even less. With that being said, I use Blackjack Apprenticeship's pro betting software to calculate my expected value, or EV, variance, risk of ruin, and N-0. I am not sponsored in any way by BJA. In fact, it's the complete opposite. I pay them to have an annual membership with them. I will be using a 1 to 20 bet spread when it's possible for me to play 2 spots. However, I will only be using a 1 to 10 bet spread when it's only possible for me to play 1 spot. So here I am dealt a 12 against a dealer's 2. Basic strategy tells us that we're actually going to hit this hand. Luckily I don't bust and I draw a 7 for 19. However, dealer makes 20, so I lose my minimum bet of $10. However, as a result of this round, the count has risen to a true 1, which means I'm going to raise my bet to $20. I apologize for my hand placement, but I'm dealt a 6 against the dealer 5. Turn that into 11, followed by a 21. Dealer only makes 17, so I make $20, bringing me to $10 above water. The count has now risen to a true 2, so now I'm going to bet 2 spots of 20. The guy next to me really liked betting on the side bets for other players, and I was totally happy to let him do that. It is great cover play to make it look like I'm playing side bets. So I'm dealt a 17 and a 16 against a dealer 4. I stay on both. Dealer flips a 9 for 13. And then a 7 for 20, so both hands lose, and now I'm $30 in the red. The count has dropped to a true 1, so now I'm back to 1 spot of 20. I'm dealt a blackjack against dealer 3, so that pays 3 to 2. I win $30, so I am back at even. Dealer makes 17, but it doesn't matter. A little while later, the true count gets back to a true 1. I'm dealt a 17 against a dealer 7.
Wow, that's crazy.
And I believe the dealer makes a 21. Here we can see the unusual burn procedure that this casino uses. So instead of burning the top card of the deck face down, they flip it face up and then proceed to burn a number of cards face down after that that's equal to that card's value. So the top card here was a 5, so the dealer burned 5 additional cards face down for a total of 6. Here we are at a true 1, so I'm betting $20. Earnings are currently back at even. And I'm dealt an 18 against a dealer's 10. Dealer does not have blackjack. I, of course, stay. Guy next to me is betting $500. And the dealer does not beat me. They either make 17 or bust. So $20 for me. And it looks like the other guy also won $500. Good for him. We're back to some minimum betting for a little while. So this time the first card of the deck is an 8, so the dealer then burns 8 cards face down for a total of 9 cards. So obviously as card counters, we're always hoping that that first card is a 2, because we can count it and then it minimizes the number of cards that are burned. I actually don't know what happens when an ace is the first card drawn, because it didn't happen in the 7.5 hours that I played at this casino. So if you know what happens when an ace is the first card drawn, please let me know in the comments below. So So after all that minimum betting, the count suddenly rises to a true 2, so I'm betting 2 spots of 2. That's 2 spots of 20. And I'm dealt a 10 and a 19 against dealer 5. I, of course, double down my 10 and make 21. Dealer busts for 23 after flipping a 10 and drawing an 8. So now I'm $90 above water.
Neither do I. Until you're on the fence.
The count has dropped to a true 1, so I'm only betting 1 spot of $20 now. I'm dealt a 19 against dealer 10. Dealer does not have blackjack. However, she flips a 10 for 20. I lose my $20 and I'm back to $70 above water.
No.
He doesn't.
He's bougie.
The count has risen to a true 3, so now I'm betting 2 spots of $40.
Thank you, bro.
Man, you are spending so much money right now. It hurts so much.
Yeah, no, it hurts me too. Yeah.
I am dealt a 16 and 17 against dealer 10, so I'm going to stay on the 17 and surrender my 16 to cut my losses and only lose $20. Dealer flips a 10 for 20, so I lose my other $20 bets. True count is now 1, so I'm just going to bet 1 spot of $20. I'm dealt a 13 against dealer 9. I'm going to have to hit. Unfortunately, I bust. True count has now risen to 2, so I'm going to bet 2 spots of $20. I'm dealt a 16 and 7 against dealer 10. Unfortunately, she has blackjack. True count is still 2, so I'm going to bet 2 spots of $20. I'm dealt a 12 and a 15 against dealer 10. Dealer does not have blackjack. I hit my 12 into a 13, and then an 18, then I surrender my 15 against dealer 10. Dealer flips a 10 for 20. You see me get my green chips ready, but 10 underneath was not the card I wanted to see. True count still a 2, so betting 2 spots of $20.
You know, it's funny because it's like,
I am dealt a 16 and a 20 against dealer 6. I stay on both.
everybody's betting $10.
Oh, yeah.
Dealer flips a 6 for 12, and then a 10 to bust at 22, so both hands win. True count is still 2, so I'm still betting 2 spots of $20. I'm dealt 2 20s against a dealer 8. Dealer flips a 6 for 14, and then another 8 to bust for 22. Both hands are paid out. I'm back to even. True count still 2. We're out betting 2 spots of $20. Looks like I got a blackjack and a pair of 3s against dealer 9. I hit my 6 for 12. Hit again for 20. Dealer has a 10 underneath for 19, so both hands are paid, and I'm $50 above water. In the next shoe, the count eventually rises to a true 1, so I'm betting one spot of $20. I'm dealt a 12 against dealer's 10. Dealer does not have blackjack. I hit my 12 for 15, hit again to bust. True count is still 1, so I'm betting one spot of $20. I'm dealt a 20 against dealer 8. Dealer flips a 10 for 18, so I get paid. A little while later, the true count goes back up to 1, so I bet one spot of $20. Guy next to me is betting $100. I'm dealt a soft 16 against dealer 10. Dealer does not have blackjack. I hit into a soft 17 followed by a hard 17. And the dealer busts, so I get paid. True count is still 1, so we're betting one spot of $20. I'm dealt a 5 against dealer 4. Lots of small cards. I hit for 15 and stay. Dealer makes 18, based off of the fact that the guy next to me pushes. So there's my bet. True count still 1, betting one spot of $20. I'm dealt 15 against dealer 9. So interestingly, I surrender here, which means that the count must have risen from a true 1 to a true 2 based off the cards that I can see on the table.
Do you mind if I play 2 spots? Oh, can I use that spot?
This spot right
Yeah,
Place your hands.
yeah. Thank you, I appreciate it.
So I successfully pushed the lady next to me over one spot to her left so that I can play 2 spots of 20. I accidentally overbet here, and then the bet that you can see is actually $25 instead of $20. But we'll see what happens. But it was a little bit of an overbet. I'm dealt a soft 17 and a 16 against dealer 3, so you can see me preparing to double down on my soft 17. I don't exactly see what it gets turned into, but dealer for 5, then 9, then something that draws yet another card, and then bust, so both hands are paid outs. And as I'm looking at this bet in front of me that's paid out, I realize that I overbet, and I bet $25 instead of 20. But now it's a true 3 based off all those little cards. So now I'm betting 2 spots of $40.
So, like, is an adult, I have more people I'm associated with, not that like so, like, I know she's trying to grow up right now.
So I'm dealt a 20 on my first hand and some 12 through 16. Dealer showing a 7. I hit my non-20 hands and then unfortunately bust.
very nice, but
And the dealer must have also made 20 because we push, or my first hand pushes. True count is still 3, so I put out another 2 bets of $40.
the simplest way to describe it on the surface level, that's what it was, because I was misled about what it's actually. So,
I'm dealt a 19 and some small hand that I would hit on but not double down against a 3.
yeah, so it's not that we're not on talking terms, it's just that,
So I get a 10 on that hand and I stay, so it must be a hard 13 through 18.
like,
And dealer must have either made a 20 or 21 because both hands lose.
I just don't
The true count must be pretty borderline because you initially see me put out 2 spots of $40, but I changed my mind at the last second and I changed it to 2 spots of $20, so I must think that it's a true 2 instead of a true 3. I'm dealt a 9 and some large hand 17 through 20 against the dealer 7. It must be a pretty definitive true 3 now because I'm doubling down on a 9 against a 7. I receive a 9 for 18. And I believe the dealer busts because both hands get paid out.
whoever fucking created this ate rocks for breakfast.
So now it's a definitive true 3. I'm betting 2 spots of $40. So my first hand is a soft 19, and I can't see my other hand or what the dealer's up card here is. And unfortunately, I don't know why, but my camera stopped recording. I'm so sorry, guys. After all that was said and done, I left this session with an earnings of $20 in profit. I played for 4 hours, so this was an average hourly rate of actual value of $5 per hour. My expected value was $31.35 per hour, but a $20 win is a $20 win. I'll take it. I did have a ramen at their restaurant that was about $22, and I tipped $4 on that, so the ramen cost me $26. But so my earnings almost paid for my dinner, but that's okay. Stay tuned for part 2. I go back to the same casino in the morning since I was not backed off, and we'll see what happens.